want to talk about science. I know a lot of people are running for the exits right now. Turn it off. I don't want to hear about science. But, it's important in this sense that there is a scientific basis for much of the work that we do in the service to self process. I don't emphasize the science because I really work from the standpoint of common sense. But I've done some of my own personal research. For many years I've been very interested in the science of spirituality. And there are some interesting books that have come out. Specifically, I want to talk about the biology of belief. This is a book that's been written by Bruce Lipton. And it's a powerful book in this sense, that he's tracking neurochemically and biology, from a biological standpoint, what happens with thought processes. In other words, I'll give an example. So if someone is scared, that thought, or that perception, I should say, fires off or triggers a whole series of neurochemical, they call them messenger molecules. Then these messenger molecules are received by these cells. There's a membrane on the outside of all the cells in our body that have these receptors, and that's how they are triggered to do whatever they're meant to do. So going back to the example, so we are scared, right? Something scares us. Then, sweat glands, would be triggered. Heart rate would go up. All these physiological experiences. And so what's interesting about this is stress is a big one for people who struggle with weight. At least it was for me. I coped with stress and anxiety with food. There's a neurochemical reason for that, by the way, which I can get into a little bit later. Maybe in this blog, maybe in another one. But the point being that I wanted to make today was just that our beliefs and the way that we perceive the world profoundly affects our biology. And so one of the things we work on in the service to self process is examining our beliefs and then working very consciously to shift our thinking to a type of thinking that's more positive. And the effect then on our biology is the piece that I want to tie together. Again, this is sort of common sense. In other words, if you think positive thoughts, okay, that makes sense. So you're probably firing off, dopamine, serotonin, these kind of things that make you feel better. And whatever the chemical is doesn't even matter. Just when I focus on positive things, I feel better. Yeah, but it's important because when we recognize the damage of our negative beliefs and our negative perceptions, okay, that's the piece, because so much of the patterns of behavior, especially around food, are unconscious. They are triggered. So with this process, we want to really work on interrupting negative thought patterns and working with compassion to shift our perception. Now, one of the big principles is that compassion is more accurate than judgment, because again, judgment narrows our focus, whereas compassion allows us to see a much broader perception of reality. A byproduct, and this is science now, of compassion, of kindness, the quality of being compassionate, they're actually studying it neurochemically, and acts of kindness and acts of compassion actually release serotonin in the brain, which, by the way, sugar, when we eat sugar, it releases initially serotonin in the brain. So that's very interesting. The two are actually, an act of kindness might replace, a candy bar. I mean, it's possible from a neurological standpoint. So I want to make sure that we really focus on the impact of being compassionate. We call it the conscious, compassionate observer, to interrupt and observe unhealthy patterns and make a conscious shift to more positive thinking, because it isn't just the common sense component. It is neurochemically linked to our behavior. So do what you can in the coming week to really practice having a conscious, compassionate observer and apply compassion to yourself and others to see more clearly. And track your perception and see if you can shift it slightly and choose a different interpretation of things to see if that interpretation, the alternate interpretation, might serve you better. Try for more positive interpretations. or possibilities. And again, compassion opens that up. Judgment narrows it down, so we want to really practice compassion. So there's a little science to back my work. Anyhow, thanks for coming today.